Welcome to Still with Purpose. This is Amanda and Christy.
Our goal is to dig deep and discuss real, raw subjects in pursuit of greater self-awareness, positive transformation, and healing, and to link arms and journey with you as we discover purpose and passion in life together.
Before we jump in, we'd like to ask if Still with Purpose has ever helped you feel seen, encouraged you to heal, helped you to breathe a little deeper, think differently, or reminded you that you're not alone. Please take a moment to follow the show, leave a review, and share this episode with someone you believe would get great value from it.
That simple act helps this message reach more humans, and we are so grateful for every single one of you walking this journey with us. We're so glad you're here. Let's get into today's conversation. Welcome back. This week we are talking about the question, what if the real source of your disappointment isn't other people, but the unspoken expectations you silently place on them? Andrew, do you have a quote for us?
Every expectation is a forecast for a future disappointment. This will be a great topic. For me, if I could just stop with the expectations and the future forecasting and falling in love with people's potential, and that's friends, business partners, it's everyone. So here's a question. Maybe I'm not committed to actually feeling joy. So what is the true commitment here? Why would that be?
Interesting question.
But I'm also not saying have no or low expectations of yourself and others. I'm saying most expectations are not spoken to the other person, and they're just there as a wedge in your relationship.
I know I do that. I always have expectations in my head, and I get really disappointed when they're not met. But then I've never communicated those expectations. I just expect them to be understood because I feel like, well, I would have gotten that. So why wouldn't somebody else? But we're all so different. I have to remember that.
That's what I would have done in that situation. Why can't they get this? Or they've known me for this long. Surely they know how to annoy me, so they should know how to please too.
I don't want this to sound arrogant, but I'm typically the type of person, do something once and I learn from it and I do it the right way next time. So I start expecting that from other people. And it could be in a situation where maybe I'm more used to dealing with that type of problem or situation. And so I shouldn't expect somebody to be that quick at it, I guess, but it can be frustrating.
For sure. Have you ever felt like maybe you have a filter on people that is, you're going to disappoint me at some point?
Probably.
So therefore the expectations are really low. I also feel like people play a really small game so that you won't expect anything of them. I know that my boys do that sometimes. I don't know how to do that. You know how to take the trash out. Let me show you one more time.
Or I just heard somebody today actually say that all I have to do is start something and then so-and-so will jump in and want to control it. So
that's right.
I get to walk away from it. And it was kind of like a laughy thing, but I think that happens a lot in
I do too.
Different relationships.
Because of comments like that, it makes you just go, I know you're dragging your feet so that I'll finish it up. Because my identity's in my word and having it complete when I said I would do it. So if you're going to drag your feet, now I have to do two jobs.
And I wonder if the other person is like, well, I wouldn't do it the way you wanted it anyway. Which is probably true. So are we shooting ourselves in the foot by having those high expectations that no one feels like they can meet?
So there's a fine line there, right? There's a pendulum swing there. We've talked about both sides and somehow getting in the middle of, I'm going to hold this person fully capable and I'm going to say yes to the deadline that I'm responsible for and pull all the pieces out that you're responsible for that no longer affects my day or week if you're not doing it.
Isn't it hard though when you're grouped with other people? It reminds me, and I hear my kids going through this now, when you have a group project at school and it's like one person can bring the whole thing down and your grade depends on somebody else. Life's like that too. Even in just personal situations, if you're grouped with someone, you're responsible for the outcome of whatever situation you're in together.
There's a meme that came out around the homework thing. I just wanted to be disappointed one more time, so I thought I'd be a part of a group project.
Yes.
And my boy can totally attest to that. because he'd be like, well, 3 of the people didn't finish their part. So what do I do? It's a group grade. I don't know what to tell you. This is very much life, unfortunately. But going into relationships, who are you hanging out with? And are they helping you move forward in what you're trying to accomplish?
And it's interesting because I think at some stages in life, you're not concerned about that. And then with the experience and so many disappointments, you start realizing that you want certain types of people in your group projects. At that point, you've made decisions about who is on your team.
And I think people that have the same values is a really important piece, because just this project alone, I've never thought Christy is judging. I'm never going to do good enough for Christy. I've just never thought that.
But because we had similar values, we both wanted to do our best, right? But if one of us wanted it more, then we would feel off balance.
And I think I was afraid of that at the beginning. Are we doing equal parts? Because there's so many moving pieces when we first started that you took a huge part of it at the beginning. And I told myself, it doesn't have to be even. I will eventually be writing 80 podcasts. So just relax. There's going to be a lot on her plate for now. But then the cool thing about it was I just thought of more ways to take care of our email campaign or the people that were going to be showing up and creating new stuff that actually takes care of people. And it just has been a nice balance of not judging like that.
When that drive is there, everything stems from that drive and that desire to be the best or do the best that we can. So like you just said, you're going to think of ways to fulfill that drive no matter what.
We also had the same intention of not farming out every single detail to someone else and not emptying our pocketbooks and feeling just really content with God's going to move this project forward however he wants and not really being super attached to it, but being excellent about it as well.
So that's great for us. And I'm very happy and thankful. But what about when we're doing group projects with people that aren't like that?
Yeah.
And I say group projects, I'm using that as my term for just life in general, not even a project.
I think it all comes down to extreme clarity and communication. And if the person's not willing to shift, then you have a recommitment conversation. I don't feel like we're working well together. So let's go ahead and separate these projects. I keep going back to work ideas, but internally in a family unit, this isn't working. So what are your ideas? Where is your resistance coming from? First of all, we need to get down to that. The resistance is what stops everything. It's the commitment of, are we committed to moving forward and getting this done together with joy? Or are we committed to fighting the whole time? It really comes down to what is your true intention around it.
I read a story the other day, and it was about a woman who had decided to leave her husband. And it was basically saying it was because of the dog and the 3 a.m. emergency vet visit that she had to make, because she was working. She called her husband and he was supposed to feed the dog its medicine and he didn't do it. And she came home and he was asleep and there was a pizza box and the dog was having tremors because it didn't get his medication. And he was like, oh, you should have called. And she's like, I literally texted you and called you. The only thing I could have done is put the pill in the dog's mouth myself. And she went on to say, basically, he acted like a volunteer in his life. And when the volunteer didn't perform well enough, it was the supervisor's fault for not supervising. And it's like, I'm not the supervisor in your life and you're not a volunteer in your life. We're doing this together and it should be equally balanced. But I think those types of expectations aren't unreasonable.
It's tough. Obviously, I have some divorce in my background, so I know what it's like on both sides. And I think going back to putting the wedge, you'll disappoint me at some point attitude, if that's the stance from both parties, then nothing's going to change. Instead of what you're saying is, if I'm so committed to be an excellent spouse, then why wouldn't I want to take care of the things that she's asked because she's working really hard? And our dog matters. Things like that are what need to shift.
So maybe we can't have expectations from people that we know aren't sharing the same values with us, because that's going to be a disappointment every time.
Yes. And also get rid of the need to be right that they are going to do that. Because from what I found in my personality, it turns into a picking thing. I know you're not going to do it anyway. So now I'm just going to set you up for failure.
I'm going to be looking for a disappointment.
And that's not fair either.
Well, at that point, we go back to the story of I'll start it and then I'll stop because they'll take it over. that's an expectation too, that you're going to be disappointed and will want to do it yourself.
And very rarely do you sit and have conversations like this. Hey, that really hurts my feelings when you ask me to do something when you know blah, 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 blah. Well, I didn't know that. I didn't know I was making you feel that way. I thought it was just a teamwork thing here. Hey, can you take care of this? Because I'm coming home really late. It needs to happen. How would you like me to communicate with you? Tell me all the ways that you want me to communicate with you, and I will work on that. Do you need more time? Do you need it written down? Do you need a text? Do you need a conversation weekly about our overview of our week? But again, it comes down to solid communication.
And I feel like in conversations like that, egos have to be checked at the door.
Yep.
You cannot get offended at the fact that somebody else feels like you're not doing your part. It's got to be talked through. Why do you feel that way? What needs to be done differently? We talked about it in one of our recent episodes about taking the emotion out of it. We just got to address the situation and figure out what's falling short or how it's falling short and fix it without getting offended.
It also has to be from the other side, a person coming to me, if they think I'm judging everything they're doing anyway, or they're not going to do it right anyway, they need to come to me and say, hey, this actually emasculates me. It makes me feel less than. And then that puts me into resistance. And therefore, I don't want to do it at all. If you could state it from this aspect and truly not care how it gets done, because there's an infinite way to get across the room, it really can get done 50,000 ways. So if you could take your judgment off of how it gets done and not make the looks, the rolled eyes, and all the stuff, this is something someone would say to me.
Yeah, thinking, okay, this is me. Uh-huh.
I'm not going to ever say that to someone, but I definitely treat people like that. So it's a communication thing and definitely an ego buster because you feel like you've really communicated well, but that doesn't mean they heard you. And it also comes down to conditional love or unconditional. Because conditional is if you don't do something that I've asked, you obviously don't love me. It's that ridiculous of a pendulum swing. But years and years of not listening and being seen and heard creates that feeling, right?
Yes, exactly. I'm also sitting here thinking this is funny because I was just thinking the last several days how I get frustrated when something's not done the way that I think it should be done, and how I love efficiency or how I hate inefficiency because it drives me nuts to make multiple trips to the same store or to clean a room, but then leave 3 things that you've got to go back and do later. So I look at somebody else doing something in a way that looks inefficient to me and it drives me bonkers. But I know I need to get over that because not everybody does everything the same way. But in my brain, it's like, well, that's logical. So why would you do it any other way?
Well, there's other personality types besides ours, and they just really do not care. They could care less about time, probably money even. It's not a concern. My biggest thing is to be blamed for something because I've already thought of all the ways to do it efficiently, that when I'm blamed that it wasn't done, that's very frustrating to me. Like I'm holding you capable to do it. Now it's not done. Now we're past deadline, and I could have done it 10 minutes after the request was made, but I'm trying to hold people capable and I'm trying to let go of things and not control every single thing.
I get
so
it.
I'm not stressed out, but you're stressed out either way.
Yes. So then I guess we need to follow our own advice. Don't have expectations and don't be upset when they're not met.
If we could get to the point where we do not even ask for something, it would be great to have partners, family members that are so in tune with each other that they just go ahead and do the thing that they know makes you so thrilled.
Yeah, actually going back to the story about the woman and the dog and the husband, she was also explaining that he was an order taker, basically, and she doesn't need an order taker. If you see the trash can full, take out the trash. Don't wait to be asked. That is an active member of life, not just waiting to be told what to do.
Maybe it's just one big power struggle going on between humans. So basically all I'm saying is ask for what you need and it will either be honored or it won't.
Didn't you just say be great if we didn't ask?
I did say that because that's when you're both in resistance to each other and you're just butting heads, and now you're just setting them up for failure. But a good, healthy relationship would be, I've stated the things that really make me feel loved. These are my love languages. And if you can work on just loving me in the way I feel most loved, and 5 love languages is excellent for this because mine isn't acts of service. So you doing something around the house, I mean, yeah, all of them make you feel loved, but really, if your words are nasty, you've already taken out massive withdrawals. I don't care that you fixed the washing machine. If you have nasty words coming out of your mouth towards me, or personality, jokes, whatever, it really actually doesn't even matter that you took the trash out, because that actually doesn't make me feel loved. I feel like that's a prerequisite to being a roommate.
Yep, I agree with you 100%.
But if acts of service was my love language and you were cuddling on me and telling me how beautiful I was all the time, can you just take the trash out? That would actually make me feel really loved. So it is a great book to look into. Also, remember, the way you love others is your love language. You usually don't love people in their love language. So I've heard tons of stories about people making just that shift alone and really sitting down and talking about, hey, these are the things that make me feel loved. So in order to combat the resistance and the angst going on in relationships, hey, what are some ways that I could make you feel loved? I want a whole list so that when I am completely clueless and I feel the resistance in our relationship, I can go to my notes section on my phone. I don't necessarily hate flowers. I think they're really great. I probably get them 4 times a year, maybe. And also, I rather you pay off one of my bills. So it's really important to find this out.
No, I agree. And I think life gets so busy that we tend to default to our own preferences on how we want to be treated without thinking about the people in our lives and how they actually want to be treated. Then you think, well, I'm doing everything right. I'm doing everything I want, but it doesn't matter if the other person doesn't feel like that's showing love in the way they need it.
Another example is if his love language is gifts and he's buying you a ton of gifts and that's not your love language, that does not personally make me feel loved at all to get a bunch of gifts. It makes me think about our credit card bill that just went up by $500 and now we're more stressed financially. I am not kidding when I say I think it's super hot to just pay off a credit card.
Well, I think my love language is words of affirmation.
Me too.
So I'd rather have a deep conversation. I'd rather hear the appreciation that you feel for the things that I do or what I bring to the table, but to be talked about. And that goes to emotional connection. So acts of service are fabulous. Like that's what gets things done. You know, in my mind, that's doing things around the house or, you know, whatever it is, all the things that have to get done to make life keep moving. But words of encouragement require emotional connection. And that's what can get lost so easily with the busyness of life. It takes intentional effort to keep up.
Yeah. The other thing to remember though, too, is if you have a person in your life that's incredibly insecure and self-loathing, they can't even look in the mirror and say something nice about themselves, much less ever notice anything that God's doing. There's no gratitude. Therefore, how am I ever going to notice the amazing person you've been in my life? Also, if I'm judging it that you didn't do it right anyway, I want to thank you for that. So it's a very interesting piece, but since we can only control ourselves, you got to stop the madness when it comes to you and just keep holding the line. Remember that book that was really popular, The Love Dare? Probably about 15, 20 years ago. I think Kirk Cameron did the movie on it. So old school Christian cheesy movie, truly. But the book was so amazing because it gave you, I think it was a 30-day run, but you aren't supposed to tell the other person about it. And you're doing the love dare on them. And each day is a different thing. And it's really requesting you to show up in a different way. It's a beautiful book. I've thought about kind of redoing that book in the sense of the fun dare, like how to bring fun back into your family. That's probably a book I'll eventually do, but it's not on the list right now. We have way other stuff going on.
No, that seems interesting though. I mean, you're right. We can only control ourselves. So I need to be better about being more open to how other people do things and being more accepting and less judgmental, to be honest.
Well, I've been told, are you being sarcastic when I've complimented someone? It's like you can't win on both sides. So just ponder it. Taking out the resistance is huge and having a really solid conversation. Because if that person that I'm having some issues with heard actually 10 ideas that I gave them, and they came home with a Starbucks 5 pump chai, and then they told me how much it meant to them that I did and that I saw them, that gets rid of a lot of irritation. I don't know. It shouldn't be that hard, but I think ego's involved for sure. And we just have to kill ego again. Expectations are unspoken contracts we silently create, but the other person never signed. This drives resentment, disappointment, confusion, and the slow erosion of respect. I think the people I have started disrespecting is they didn't meet my expectations that they didn't know I had, which is very interesting to think about. You're holding people accountable to agreements they don't even know they're breaking. You must have the hard apology filled conversations that lay out the expectations you have had on that person and that they have not known about, and talk about all of it because it affects everything, but most of all, your respect for them. My understanding, especially with men, is that respect and love is not the same thing. Respect is what they want. For women, I might be getting this wrong, but for women, love and respect is the same thing. So that's something to think about too. I'd love for the men to chime in if they have heard that or think that. But respect is everything. Once you lose that, then trust is close behind that one.
I do feel like love and respect are one and the same.
You should ask a couple guys in the next week what their response is to that.
I would love to know.
Because there's a book called Love and Respect, and I think that's where I got that from. It's a big difference between men and women. Because if we don't respect them, like they don't even want to be with you.
And if I don't feel respected, then I don't feel loved.
Something to think about.
It is an expectation that we put out there that people fill the void that only God can fill. And until we realize that that can't happen, then we're going to be disappointed every single time.
So definitely go back to some of our old podcasts because they build on each other. And we'll take one subject and talk about it for 20, 30 minutes. And it goes hand in hand with this one. Going back to why I fall in love with potential. What I see you accomplishing is so much at the beginning when I highly respect you and look up to you. And then I get that's such a high expectation I'm putting on people that they will never meet. And if I'm using them to fill a void, then I really need them to show up this way, or else I'm actually abandoning my values and my desires.
That's how you feel about it, right?
Because they're not possibly ever going to live up to that potential that I see in them. And I've heard from a lot of people on social media, the qualities a person shows you right now is actually the person they probably will be, possibly forever. Because how long has it taken us to change just one thing in our life? Now, I'm not talking drastic, maybe addictions where you change overnight because you're just so tired of all the pain and devastation it's caused. That's an overnight shift, even though you've been thinking about how it's not serving you.
I think people can change, but to your point, we shouldn't expect it because it's not easy to change anything.
I had a friend back in the day. She was so upset about her husband's drinking, but she met him at a bar. That's exactly who she met. He didn't change at all. He was the same exact person even 3 years after their marriage, but she just hounded on him about his drinking for the whole 3 years and how he didn't need to show up that way. Then they had a baby together and it was affecting their family. It's like, you picked him out of a bar, ma'am. Now, that sounds super judgmental how that came out of my mouth. At the same time, I have to stop and go, who am I okaying or overlooking my non-negotiables right now and allowing this relationship in my life when it doesn't meet hardly any of my needs or desires? Why am I okay with that? So it goes back to the idea that we first talked about is no one's going to do it right anyway. But then we so want it so badly that we go ahead and pendulum swing over to the other side and just get rid of all of our values and, and needs and requests. That's super confusing. So basically, you're committed to being disappointed or you're committed to not expecting things of people. No expectations.
Which is so so hard for me personally.
I agree.
I love what you said about a silent contract because that's so true. And the other person has no idea.
Because if you present it in a way to where you're trying to sell something, you actually have a buy-in from the person that's buying because they know all the details. They know what you're requesting of them, what they need to do in order to finish that contract that you have in front of you. But we don't do that in relationships. And people, I mean, guys are pretty confused all the time about women and what they want.
Well, on the one hand, we're saying it's all about communication, but then I know myself, I don't always say, here are my expectations. And I'm not sure that'd be taken very well anyway, because my expectations tend to be a little unrealistic sometimes.
So therein lies the pendulum swing and the issue.
Yep.
Definitely stuff to think about.
For sure. Should we talk about some reflection questions to think about more this week? Okay. The first one is, where am I expecting someone to be who they could be instead of who they actually are right now? Also, which expectations have I never spoken out loud yet still hold people accountable to? And what part of my joy am I sacrificing by holding on to potential instead of choosing reality?
All right, that should be enough to look at.
Thanks for a great conversation and for listening, everyone.
Thanks so much for joining us today. We know your time is valuable and we're truly grateful you spent part of it with us. We hope this conversation stays with you and helps you move through the week with more clarity, peace, and purpose.
Be sure to visit us at stillwithpurpose.com. And there you can read our bios, sign up for email encouragement and updates on exciting announcements, and also join our private Facebook community.
And if Still With Purpose has encouraged you in any way, please remember to follow, leave a quick review, and share with a friend. It helps more people find these conversations. Have a phenomenal week, and we'll see you next time.